We are back.
Here we are.
Again. Here at Reblogatog Central. Where we take Mark... Huh?
Episode number 35.
Number 35, yeah. Where we take Mark Rosewater's Tumblr account called Blogatog, and we baby bird it to you. Every week. All the most interesting and factual and protein-producing parts.
That's correct.
Yeah. So, we're ready to roll. We're going to try something new this week. If you're a follower, let us know if you're a follower. Please.
I am random snarky interneter, and this is Mayro this week.
Yeah, we're gonna try, you know,
see how that goes for us.
Back and forth instead of taking turns reading the whole thing.
Mayro, could Beast Within or Generous Gift be in blue? It technically fills blue's ability to destroy something and give the controller a creature in place of it.
Blue can transform creatures into other creatures.
That's not a yes or a no.
Correct.
Okay.
Blue can transform creatures into other creatures. It gets it at a better rate than that.
Yeah, that's fair.
This is my comment. Frogify, Pongify,
yeah.
1 mana. That's my biggest problem with it, I'll be honest.
That's fair.
1 mana can turn a 16/16 into a 3/3 ape. That's crazy.
Well, how many Time Walk effects can one standard environment have at any given time?
Only a handful, which I'm guessing is 5.
I would assume that's 5.
But that's a lot, so I don't think he means that.
Yeah.
He says a handful.
I can't think of there ever being more than 2, maybe 3 at a shot.
That would be a lot, yeah.
Yeah. Could we get an if-when on a booster set entirely focused on reprints / new cards for Commander? Like Commander Legends, but without being made for draft.
Drafting is too big a part of Magic for us to not make randomized booster packs draftable. That doesn't mean it has to be the priority of the design, but it's a factor that is taken into account. You're not going to get random booster packs for the most part.
Yeah.
But we got set boosters, and they're not draftable.
Right.
We got theme boosters, and they're not draftable. We have collector boosters, and they also are not draftable. There are 3 types of booster packs you can buy that fit this criteria. A lot of that was me.
Yeah. We're good.
But it's fact.
It is. Why does white seem to get access to the most keywords or cards that care about having 1 or more keywords?
Because it's the color with the highest percentage of creatures.
Yeah.
White gets more creatures. They're smaller. Green gets bigger creatures. And it's number 2 in creatures. But white gets the most creatures. Hey, maybe I need a hat. A Mayro with a hat. Not Mayro. Or maybe Mayro doesn't wear a hat.
No.
Maybe I'm not Mayro without a hat. And then when I'm talking for me, I put a hat on.
There we go. Your Ringmaster hat?
It says know-it-all or something.
You got a dunce? I can make you a dunce cap. What is the strangest thing you've been blamed for that you have 0 power over?
Lots of weird stuff. If it's connected to Magic in any way, I get blamed. I once got chewed out by a player because the bathroom at their local game store wasn't clean enough.
Poor
that's pretty sad. That's pretty sad.
Pretty much. Hi, Mark. Why does Zendikar Rising have a longer than normal season? Based on 4 standard legal sets a year, an average would be 90 days per set. Thanks.
Well, various factors prevent release at exactly 3 months. They take into account holidays and so forth. And I think this year's
been a...
Well, I'm going to... This is me talking now. In case you can't tell, the voice has changed because it hasn't. I think because we already know that there are 2 fourth quarter sets next year.
Right.
Vampires and werewolves from Innistrad. I think they're taking this time to push stuff back a little bit. So, normally we get the winter set in January. We've gotten it as early as like the second or third week.
Yeah.
And this year, we're getting pre-release at the end of January. Technically next year, I guess.
Right.
And it doesn't release till February 5th. So I think that's going to be part of it. We may actually be getting stuff. I don't know. I hate to speculate. What if we're getting something like in December? Next year.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think is going to happen. I think we're going to see like a December, January, left.
It's
1-2 punch.
It's weird. We'll see.
You know what even makes it weirder about how long this season feels with Zendikar Rising? Is Zendikar Rising did get pushed back like everything else this year, didn't it? Like a week or two? Didn't its release get pushed?
Oh, man, so many things have changed dates.
So, I mean, like, it's an even shorter season than it would have been, I think.
At least talking about it's a longer season.
Yeah, but I mean, it's shorter than it even would have been because I think it got pushed back a couple weeks with COVID stuff. So it would have been even longer.
We didn't have a pre-release, so,
Right. Will and Rowan are both planeswalkers.
Correct.
And Bolas and Ugin are both planeswalkers.
Check.
Do both of a pair of twins always have the spark if one of them does? Even if it doesn't always ignite in both of them.
It looks that way from the evidence we have so far. What's weird, though, is that, at least in a real-world sort of way, these aren't identical.
Right.
These are fraternals sharing a spark.
And what's even weirder is, from what we know about Will and Rowan, they share a spark, is what we've been told. I thought. They shared a spark, don't they? Or do they both have their own? For some reason, I thought they shared a spark, but that's not how.
So if one of them goes, they both go?
I feel like when we first got introduced to them in Battle Bond, it was introduced as a...
I'm not the biggest Vorthos on the planet, so...
I'm not either, but I feel
be.
like that's one I remember, which it's not the same for Bolas and Ugin, obviously. No. So, makes it a little different. Sounds like an overwhelming amount of people strongly dislike Commander and Command Zone being rules text on cards. Yeah. I'm one of those people. I really don't like the Planeswalkers that can only be used in Commander, and I hope Wizards veer far away from this.
I think overwhelming is overstating it, but there are people who dislike it. That's why we've restricted it to Commander decks and sets, and the occasional other multiplayer-focused product. Hence, Will and Rowan.
Right.
But I really don't like the Planeswalkers that can only be used in Commander. I don't believe any such thing exists.
No, that's true. They could all be played in Legacy and Vintage.
So there you go.
Is it possible to have a dual land cycle similar to Shocklands that instead of shocking you, grants an opponent 2 life?
That is significantly more powerful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to say no. Maro just said it's significantly more powerful.
I will play those all the time in my Red X aggro deck.
Maybe 10 life?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Grants an opponent 2 life. Okay. Hi, Mr. Rosewater. Are you aware of your hypothetical format rush is becoming a reality? If so, what do you think about it? Have a great weekend.
Oh, I've heard. And I'm tickled by it.
I'm glad he is.
Go out looking. I don't know if it's going to catch fire or anything, but we talked about it
last week on Chatter. I'd like to build a deck, play a time or two just to see, but I have a feeling it's not going to have a lot of staying power, sadly. But it would be something fun to do quickly.
It's 30 card decks, no more than 2 of any card. It's got a little ban list.
Yeah, 10 life.
10 life.
5 card hands.
Every turn you get a new 5 card hand.
Yeah.
You ship the rest of the bottom.
That's interesting. It. Now, my understanding is that currently sets can't be changed about 9 months to a year out. Are there ever conversations about trying to make it possible to do changes closer to release? Is it a significant issue not being able to have sets that are soon to be released able to react to how players are receiving the current set?
The lead times used to be longer.
Yeah.
We chopped some time out, but there's not a lot of fat left to trim from the schedules.
Yeah.
You guys do realize that they get these things done, and then they go to the printers. It takes X amount of time at the printers to get everything figured out and all that jazz. And then they actually do get printed all over the world now.
Yeah.
But a lot of what we get actually gets printed and has to come to us on a slow boat from somewhere. So there is a lot of lead time involved.
And I know that the guy asking the question is probably just thinking about designing cards and card mechanics and gameplay design. But when you're designing these sets and all that lead time, not only do you have to design 250-some cards for the set, you got to get 250-some pieces of artwork that match what you've designed. And there's a lot more than just...
There's a numbering system.
Yeah.
So if you remove a card at the last minute, then you need a card that's the same color with the same alphabetical listing.
Yeah.
So you've only got a little leeway there on what you name it. Yeah. It's a big deal.
There's a lot. Yeah.
It's a big deal.
All right. On to the next page.
That's how we do it.
Does AskUrza.com get updated when new Planeswalkers are printed?
It gets changed on occasion, but not as often as the release of each new Planeswalker.
I'm just happy that they're keeping it active and updating.
Yep.
Because that, like, if not, if they ever shut it down from what it's supposed to be, can we just have it as like a search engine? Ask Urza. Can that be my new gatherer? Ask Urza.
Oh, yeah. Somebody needs to go build that.
Right. Urza, I need a red card that costs us.
Yeah. Hey, what happens in the 42nd layer of copying something?
Oh, God. No layers. No layers. Has there been any progress made towards a replacement term for enter the battlefield? I know that we can't just shorten it to ETB, but the current language seems to take up a lot of valuable real estate for a relatively simple concept.
The topic has come up numerous times, but no recent progress. I didn't even know this was a thing, I'll be honest. Enters the battlefield seems pretty succinct.
Right.
We all call it ETB once you're enfranchised a little bit. But yeah, you can't put it on the card as ETB.
Yeah.
So I don't
know. That's all right. Part of my brain still...
Maybe we just shouldn't overuse the term like we do.
No. You mean there shouldn't be so many enter the battlefield effects?
That's correct.
Oh.
That's what I'm saying.
Part of my brain still reads it as come into play sometimes.
Oh, yeah, CIP.
Yeah.
Who remembers CIP? Not ICP. CIP.
Yeah. I know that by definition of being an artifact, Karn is non-gendered. However, other characters definitely treat Karn as male. How do you think Karn would identify? What are Karn's pronouns? I rather like the concept of Ashiok using Ashiok as Ashiok's preferred pronoun.
Well, Karn is non-gendered and self-identifies that way. Karn doesn't have a gender. But Karn doesn't really care what words others use. Most people use he because Karn looks more masculine than feminine.
Yeah.
And I don't see anything wrong with that, but I'm probably wrong for saying that. I'm an old man living in a new world, and I'm trying hard.
Well, he's imparted with, like, part of Urza's consciousness or something, right? And Urza was a guy, so, I mean, I don't know. I'm going.
Yeah.
If or when, an effect that mills from the bottom of a player's library.
If. It's logistically more difficult for very minimal gain.
Yeah. Mark, we have already had mill from the bottom on Cellar Door in the original Innistrad. I believe the reason was because it was too easy to set up what the top card of the library was, and it felt appropriate since cellars are beneath the rest of the house. Or library in this case.
It was milled from the bottom because it was a top-down design with that name.
That just makes sense.
So, 20,000 cards. If he forgets one, we'll let it slide.
I guess.
Yeah.
All right. Looking at 2-player only and ignoring corner cases like skip your draw step cards, what are some of the downsides that occur in Magic's rules had each player draw a card at each draw step rather than only the player whose turn it is getting to draw? In other words, what if we effectively got 2 free cards per turn cycle instead of 1?
Well, it's an important part of the game that you start running out of resources as the game progresses.
Yes, it is. We all wish our hands stayed full, but...
This, I'm going to tangent just a little bit. This is an issue in Commander.
Okay, yeah.
I just got done with the Commander game where effectively some of us paid for heuristic study and then eventually none of us did. I mean, he didn't win, but he was drawing a lot of cards.
Yeah. Card advantages.
Card advantage, and also
king.
The other thing is when you got a load of cards in your hand, lots of options, and it takes longer to play.
Yes.
It's just like my deck taking a long time to play. I was playing a Planeswalker deck. Lots of activations.
Yep.
Oh my.
Plus, minus, trigger.
Blink.
Yeah.
Blink a Johnny. Give them all 2 more counters. Blink him again.
Yeah. That seems okay.
It was fun.
Do you think that we will see landfall and sets outside of Zendikar? It seems like a very popular mechanic.
My guess is it will happen after we don't visit Zendikar for a while. You think there'll come a time when we don't go back to Zendikar?
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, it's not quite Ravnica. There will never be a time we don't go back to Ravnica. I'm sorry. It's
Probably
everyone's
not.
favorite plane.
No, not everyone.
Okay. The large, vast majority. It outnumbers all the others. There we go.
It's very popular.
Yes.
It might be the most popular.
Yes.
But not for everyone.
I don't know. I agree with Evan Irwin on that Landfall is the best mechanic ever. It's the most intuitive. It's just, yeah, this is what I want,
Go look it up how Mark Rosewater had to sell that idea
Yeah.
to get it in print.
I don't know why you had to sell that idea.
Lands matter.
I really enjoyed the Storm Scale article, as always.
He had a new one this week.
Yes. Do you have any idea why Escape wasn't received as well as you expected?
Best guess is the influence of Uro.
You think?
Uro was a negative indicator.
Yeah, it's not the first time that one card is kind of nasty to everybody's opinion of a mechanic either.
Probably, yeah. Probably also didn't help that, what's the red enchantment? Let everything escape.
Oh, yeah, Underworld Breach.
Underworld Breach. Couldn't think of it.
Yeah.
That also left a bad taste in a few mouths.
Yeah.
Oh, everything has escape. Oh, but it doesn't. Ooh. Pretty good.
I never got around to building an Underworld Breach deck. I always wanted to. Wanted to play Fires and Underworld Breach, cast everything for free, and cast it all back out again for free. With new collation technologies, would it be possible to do an Enchantment Matters set without enchantment creatures? Not that personally I'd want that since I love them, but you were able to do war by putting a Planeswalker in every pack.
The issue is the as fan of your deck. Most of your spells in a sealed game are creatures.
Yes.
If none of those fit the needed requirement, it becomes difficult to hit the as fan needed to make blank matters work.
Yeah, they could put an enchantment in every pack, but when you still need mostly creatures to play,
Yeah.
doesn't.
Hey, it's a cool enchantment. I can't kill you with it, but it's cool.
Right.
Can't attack you. Can't block anything. But it's cool.
It's cool. Isn't that enchantment's problem through all the history of Magic? Man, a lot of enchantments for a lot of time are really cool, but it just doesn't. It just.
Well, now we have static abilities on Planeswalkers, so better, worse, different.
different. In the Storm Scale article, you mentioned that every color has at least one card type it can get out of the graveyard. I'm curious. What are those card types?
Well, white can get artifacts and some creatures, the small, iconically white ones.
Right.
Enchantments and planeswalkers. Blue gets artifacts, instants, and sorceries. Black gets creatures. Red gets instants and sorceries and phoenixes. And green gets anything.
Yeah, green just gets anything. Do you think it still makes sense for green to get non-permanents out of the graveyard? Have you considered narrowing green's scope in that regard?
Green is the color most focused on the pass, so it can get back any card type. Because it's focused on the past, and the graveyard is like the past.
Right. This kind of goes along with the enchantment matters we were talking about a second ago.
Oh, yeah, I missed. Sorry.
That's all right. Couldn't we just have an enchantment matters set where a high number of instants and sorceries and creatures generate enchantment tokens? Simple, problem solved. Your job seems pretty dang easy to a casual observer who can simply suggest poorly defined solutions without having to deal with the larger ramifications of those ideas.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah.
This happens all the time. If you follow long enough, listening to us or reading it yourself, people will go, hey, why don't you do this thing? And he has to go into this explanation. Yeah.
It doesn't actually work like that.
Yeah.
Is it within each color's slice of the pie to search for basics of its own type?
To some extent, yes. But some colors much more than others.
Green, obviously.
Green, white's,
maybe white, right?
White's been getting that a little bit. Blue's at the bottom of that.
Yeah.
Blue and red. Red might be at the very bottom. I don't know.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Black has got it a little bit.
Yeah. Mark.
Yes.
One of the things I've always respected most about you
I know.
is your dedication to listening to what the players like and don't like.
I do that.
I'm curious, though, how the pandemic affects the feedback you're getting and how that's applied while still accounting for the pandemic. I'm thinking about things like Commander Legends probably didn't get drafted as much as it would have without COVID. Or Arena is seeing more play for similar reasons.
Well, we do the best we can to take all factors into account. Note that every Magic set, even without a pandemic, has a huge number of issues to factor in. I mean, they're doing what they can. I mean, you get your numbers where you get your numbers, and...
You know, Mark, I just have to say, that's the most eloquent way I've ever heard to say nothing.
Thank you.
With the advent of sagas and Dominaria, and reinforcement with adventures and Throne of Eldraine, I'm curious. Is this reversing the decision to never have subtypes with rules baggage? Or is the rules baggage on the card frame?
Creature subtypes can't have rules baggage. Non-creature subtypes can and do have rules baggage. Yeah. So they didn't like tribal. Yeah. That was the baggage that we're referring to with creature subtypes having baggage.
Gotcha.
But other ones, yeah, I mean, we've got curses and enchantments.
Yeah.
We've got baggage.
We've got baggage. That's definite. Can Black get Planeswalkers back from the graveyard, or was Command the Dreadhorde a bend to fit a bend for the sake of War Against the Sparks Planeswalker theme?
Usually white doesn't. One could argue it might be secondary in Black, which is infrequent as we don't do this ability often. So he's not going to call it a bend because it hasn't really been discussed.
It hasn't been done enough to...
Right.
Yeah.
But Black gets creatures.
Right.
So I could see Black getting Planeswalkers.
I'd like to see it stay in white more to give white another one of those things of its own. I've said that multiple times. If I really think white should push harder into Planeswalkers as their thing. So
they're pretty deep. They got the tutors.
They got the tutors.
I cast Deploy the Gatewatch earlier.
There you go.
Only hit one.
But I feel like that's a good place for white to go.
Notice how I managed to put this one on you.
I noticed. Mark, can you provide a phonetic spelling of Asmoranomardicadaistinaculdacar?
I cannot. Now, if you're unfamiliar, like Alan was before we went over this,
Yes.
I don't know how many references it has, but it's on Granite Gargoyle from Alpha. And people have been wanting this card made, and I don't know if they can put it on
If that goes on a
the type on
the type line, yeah,
on the name line,
Yeah.
if it'll fit. But if you ever watch Gavin Verhey, he does Good Morning Magic about 3 times a week. He had 21 cards that didn't make the cut, and that was one of them.
Asmoranomardicadaistinaculdacar.
Does not roll off the tongue like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious does.
It just keeps
For
going.
sure.
It just keeps going. All right, we just got a couple more here, guys. You've mentioned Slivers came from a set that Watsy bought. How do we solicit designs?
Well, it didn't quite work like that.
Right.
Wizards hired Mike Elliott as an R&D member. Mike says after being hired, and this is a long time ago,
This
folks.
is a long time ago, yeah.
Mike says after being hired, I have a set I made before coming here. Are you interested in buying it? As Mike was an employee and gave permission, we could look at it. It was called Astral Ways, and Wizards did pay Mike for the rights to it. This is back just as they were coming out of where Richard Garfield had the East Coast and the West Coast playtesters
yeah.
building sets because Magic got so successful so fast. He brought in people to help build, and this guy had built this set. So they did end up using some of it in like Ice Age, wasn't it?
No, I think it was a little bit later than that.
Was it a little later?
Yeah.
It's available on that interweb thing out there if you go look.
I've heard Mero talk about it in Drive to Work before, and because Mero wasn't there until like Alliances or something, I think is when he started.
Okay.
Last question, guys. Is Patron of the Moon a color pie break?
Well, blue shouldn't put lands from your hand onto the battlefield, so yes. The card is out of color pie, and I'd call it a break. Oh my god, I called a blue card a break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You put lands from your hand to I don't even remember what Patron of the Moon does. It's weird. Kamigawa.
It's one of those moon folk, I think.
It's one of them weird
I
moon
forgot
folks.
to look it up, but I remember it being a thing.
Yeah,
so.
you put lands from your hand to bounce something or something. It's weird.
It is. So anyway, let us know if you like one of us reading one the other. Let us know if you didn't.
All right, guys. Well, we thank you again for joining us again this week.
We'll see you next week on Reblogatog 36.
Ooh.